What's the most entitled behavior you've ever witnessed? I was working at this fancy steakhouse downtown when this guy in his 50s walks in wearing a $1,000 suit. He had this attitude like he owned the place before he even sat down. His name was Brad, and he immediately started snapping his fingers at me like I was his personal servant. He didn't even look at the menu, just demanded the most expensive steak we had, cooked rare, with a bottle of our priciest wine. But here's where it gets crazy. When his food arrived, Brad took one bite and started screaming. He claimed the steak was overcooked, even though it was perfectly rare like he ordered. He threw his napkin on the floor and demanded to speak to the manager. My manager Tom came over and tried to be polite. Brad wasn't having it. He started yelling about how this was the worst service he'd ever experienced and how he was going to leave terrible reviews everywhere. Then Brad pulls out his phone and starts recording. He's making this whole scene, claiming we ruined his important business dinner. The other customers are staring, kids are getting scared, it was a complete nightmare. Tom offered to comp the meal and bring him a new steak. Brad said that wasn't good enough. He wanted the entire table's dinner for free, plus $50 cash for his trouble, plus Tom to personally apologize on camera. When Tom refused the cash demand, Brad completely lost it. He picked up his wine glass and threw it at the wall behind the bar. Red wine and glass everywhere. Then he started threatening to sue the restaurant. That's when our security camera footage became really important. See, we had cameras covering every table, and Tom decided to review what actually happened, while Brad was still ranting. On the security footage, you could clearly see Brad take his first bite, look around to make sure people were watching, then put his steak sauce on the meat to make it look overcooked. He literally sabotaged his own food to create a scene. Tom showed the footage to Brad on his phone. Brad's face went white when he realized he'd been caught red-handed faking the whole thing. But instead of apologizing, he doubled down. He claimed the camera angle was wrong, and that we were lying about the timestamp. He said he was still going to sue and that his lawyer would destroy our little restaurant. Tom had enough. He told Brad he had two choices: leave immediately and never come back, or Tom would call the police and press charges for property damage and disturbing the peace. Brad chose option 3. He started screaming even louder, claiming this was discrimination and that he was being targeted because he was successful. He was making 0 sense, but wouldn't stop talking. That's when Tom played his ace card. He announced to the entire restaurant that Brad's meal was on the house for everyone to enjoy watching the show. The whole dining room started laughing and clapping. Brad finally stormed out, but not before threatening to ruin us all on social media. He left his credit card on the table and drove off without it. The next day, we found Brad's 1-star reviews on every website, but he made a huge mistake. In his rants, he admitted to throwing the wine glass and described exactly how he tried to scam us. Our lawyer said Brad's own reviews were basically a confession. We ended up suing him for the damages and won easily. Brad had to pay for the broken glass, the wine, the cleaning, and our legal fees. The best part, 3 months later, Brad came back, not to eat, but to apply for a job as a server. Apparently his entitlement finally caught up with him at his real job and he got fired. Tom hired him just so he could experience what it's like to deal with entitled customers all day. Brad lasted exactly 1 week before quitting.